is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated. Two exciting games going to overtime. One almost did. And we lost another superstar for the year. Next on Total Football Talk. Welcome to Total Football Talk. Hard-hitting, gridiron action, and fun, just the way you like it. I am one of the co-hosts of this program, Cole Johnson, a.k.a. the Mad Scientist and EP Extraordinaire. And I am joined, as always, by the other co-host of this program, Mr. Commander's Gridiron Report himself, D. Willie, a.k.a. Drew Willingham. How you doing, my man?
Hey, doing great as always. Glad to be back here. An honor and a privilege to be here again with you now for the third time. Episode 3 of Total Football Talk. And before we get started, I got to give a quick shout out to Brandon Guy, my man out there from Championship Culture, for the guest appearance that he had me on his show last week. Sent me a shirt in the mail. Got to give a quick shout out to my man here. Always with the great content over there on the Wrestling Realm. Got to check them out over at the Wrestling Realm on YouTube.
I definitely will do that. I appreciate that. No, man. And if they have you on the program, then they are of quality. So I look forward to getting to know them better myself. But speaking of getting to know things better, it's time for you all to get to know us better from this realm. It's time to go on an opening drive.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Break.
All right, and if you are unfamiliar with this program, we go through every single game and recap it from one Thursday night game to this week, 2 Monday Night Football games. So we'll start with the Thursday one. So it's the Vikings traveling to the Link and meeting up with the defending NFC champs, Philadelphia. The Eagles struggled a little on defense, struggled a little on offense, but DeAndre Swift, who was a Philadelphia native, he got with everybody, gained 175 yards in the 34-28 victory. And in the losing cause, Kirk Cousins, he threw for over 300 yards yet again in another L. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
You know, this game, it definitely was a challenge for the defense for Philadelphia to hold the Vikings to only 28 points when Kirk Cousins didn't have any turnovers, didn't throw any interceptions. He had 4 touchdowns. And for as many yards as you discussed for what he had, 364 yards, 31 of 44 on attempts. In comparison to Jalen Hurts, who didn't even throw for 200 yards, 193 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It was the running game by DeAndre Swift, like you had said, with 175 yards and a touchdown, but the 2 touchdowns rushing by Jalen Hurts did help when they were down there in those red zone conversions. So when you look at that in the defense that they had over there for the Philadelphia Eagles, Zach Cunningham, 5 tackles, Josh Joby with 5 as well, Darius Slade, Terrell Edmonds as well with 5 tackles. I mean, between the 4 of them, had 20 tackles on the defense between 4 people. That's a huge impact for what the defense is able to do against this Vikings team.
Yes, they were working overtime to make sure that they kept the Vikings in check. As the Vikings are wanted to do, they always love to spread defenses, and they, of course, spread the Eagles around. But they did their job. But congratulations to the Eagles. They're now 2-0 with a 259 rushing yard performance as a team. So, yeah, pretty good. Pretty good for the defending NFC champs. We'll talk about them in featured attractions. Now to the Sunday 1 p.m. games, and we will begin with the Falcons surprising the Packers, coming from a 24-12 deficit to pull out a 25-24 victory. The Falcons rushing, and more rushing. They rushed for 211 yards in the game, and Younghoe Koo, 25-yarder to seal the deal with under 1 minute remaining. The Packers, of course, will be 1-1. Your thoughts on the game, sir?
You know, we're still seeing great things from Jordan Love. Of course, we want to see him sling the rock a little bit more, as he only had 151 passing yards. But 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. You know, you thought that the game was in the bag for the Packers. They were going to come back and they were going to win this game. But unfortunately, the Falcons just wanted it a little bit more and wanted to get on a great start for this season. Who thought that the Falcons would start this season 2-0? Desmond Ridder, the quarterback, coming in here, getting the job done. I mean, at 237 passing yards, had a touchdown and did have an interception, but the rest of the team around him, Robinson, the running back over there, was 6.5 running yards per attempt with 124 yards total. You know, you got to look at what this team's doing overall, and the Falcons are definitely got something special building over there. So do the Packers, though. That's why it was as close of a contest as it was. It could have gone either way, and in this case, it went the Falcons' way.
Yes, and I agree with you. Bijan Robinson, a beast in Texas, and it looks like he's going to be a beast in NFL. I'm looking forward to seeing how both these teams shake out as 2023 keeps rolling along.
My bad, but the defenses as well. I mean, you look at the impact of the way that these defenses played as well. I mean, both of them have great young cores at defense. Mm-hmm. They're going to be special for quite some time on both sides of the teams.
Yeah, they are. Sorry about that. All right, from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium to Highmark Stadium, and I have to remember not to call it Bills Stadium. The Bills decided to lick their wounds, and they destroyed and dismantled the Las Vegas Raiders 38-10. You could go with Josh Allen with his 274 yards passing and 3 TDs. I love the fact they decided to run the ball, and they decided to not run Josh Allen as much. Your thoughts, sir?
Oh, yeah, with Josh Allen only having 7 rushing yards, you stole the words out of my mouth as far as watching him and keeping those legs fresh throughout the season. With the amount of yards that he had passing compared to what he did rushing was definitely a huge deficit between the two. But you look at this Bills team, they were definitely embarrassed on that first Monday night game of the year against the Jets. Coming in here, Jimmy G, I think that's a big story as well, looking at what he did in this game with only 185 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Was Jimmy G worth the offseason pickup? I know the Bills are a tough team to go up against, but he is definitely playing like the dumpster Pelican of the week.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Did you say dumpster Pelican?
I love it.
Gift for you, buddy.
I love it.
All right, traveling a little bit to the south and the east. Well, no, actually, south and the west. The Bengals, in their home opener, decided to lay a huge egg, and they lost to the Ravens 27-24. Lamar Jackson, decent effort, over 230 yards and a couple touchdowns. But again, Joe Burrow not really clicking with his offense all that much. But kudos to the Ravens, 178 rushing yards as a team. Your thoughts on the game, sir?
Well, Joe Burrow definitely did better than the 80-some passing yards he had in the first week, coming
That's
fresh
true.
off that contract extension. So, yeah, he
Yeah.
definitely improved, but still not enough when you're going in against a pretty good team with the Ravens. On paper, before the season started, you would have thought that this matchup would have been as close as it was. But coming off the type of the game the Bengals played the week prior, I think that this is definitely a wake-up call for the Ravens that they should have beaten this Bengals team by a little bit more than what they did.
That's a really good point. And in going to 2-0 that the Ravens are now, I think that's the one thing that I'm sort of puzzled by. I'm like, it was sort of an uninspired victory against the Texans and just as uninspiring a victory against the Bengals. But hey, all that matters is you got the W. So you have two of them. Let's see if they can build off of that and actually play more cohesive. I agree with you on that. Totally agree with you on that. To Nashville, where we get to one of the OT games that happened this weekend. The Chargers, they had an 11-point lead, and it all went to pot as the Chargers lost in overtime 27-24 to the Titans, thanks to Nick Folk kicking a 41-yard field goal in overtime in the soaked Nissan Stadium turf. Your thoughts on the game, sir?
Nick Folk is still playing in the league.
Yeah.
He's like 87 years old, slinging that foot around, getting extra points, and now game-winning field goals still. Good to see old Nick Folk still in the league. I remember when he first broke in, I think he was with Dallas, and
Yes.
around that time frame. But, looking at Nick Folk and winning this game was definitely huge for the Titans, who've had the struggles, especially with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. And, he comes in this game, doesn't turn the ball over, but still only throws for 246 yards. I mean, for this team that you got here, you need to be consistently throwing for over 300 yards if you're going to have a chance for the Titans to win because of the way that this team is built. But good on them to get this victory in overtime. But at the same time, bad on the Chargers, who were starting out 0-2. It's not looking good for Justin Herbert and that coaching staff around him there for the Chargers. They need to get together and now 0-2 to start the season.
Yes, the coach I like the least does it again, and I think he cost him this game. It's unfortunate that Herbert has to play with that coaching staff and Staley. And I'm not going to derail the show because I could just talk about Brandon Staley. Yeah, and I'm sorry. You want to talk about dumpster pelicans? Yes, that's Brandon Staley. Goodness gracious! Oh my gosh. All right, to the Tampa Bay, or I should say Tampa, St. Petersburg area, where the Buccaneers hosted the Bears, and in their home opener, the Buccaneers defeated the Bears 27-17. Mike Evans was the star of the game, 175 receiving yards and a touchdown. Of course, Baker Mayfield threw for over 300 yards. Meanwhile, Justin Fields did Justin Fields things, missing wide open receivers. I'm sorry, my bad. Your thoughts?
Jamel Dean was definitely huge for the Buccaneers defense. Definitely played a huge part in helping contain the Bears to only 17 points. Now we get to talk about Bunker Stayfield because I didn't talk about him since last week, Cole. It is now time to talk about Bunker Stayfield. We are in the house talking about Bunker Stayfield. He is now 2-0 to start the season. I definitely did not see that coming, which is why I call him Bunker Stayfield.
My Bunker Stayfield, Lord. I do another show where I hear these wonderful nicknames that my co-host brings to people. And I come to here and I get the same treatment from a different co-host. I love it, though. I absolutely love it. Oh, my gosh. Bunker Stayfield, Lord. Oh, gosh. Oh, man.
Some people might be saying, what? But I'm saying, yeah.
Lord have mercy. For a long time, people were saying about Baker Mayfield,
ain't nobody care.
Maybe they might. Who knows? All right. From Tampa, staying in the state, to Jacksonville, where it was a defensive slugfest. The Jaguars defense played well. The Chiefs defense played better as they defeated the Jaguars 17-9. Kudos to the Chiefs defense. They definitely showed why Chris Jones is necessary. 4 sacks on the unit. Chris Jones with 1.5. And of course, he got the key sack that just shut everything down for the rest of the game. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I definitely look forward to hear what Kyle Nash has to say about this on Student of the Game tomorrow on Sartoba Media. Bing! But when you think about what the Jacksonville Jaguars have done from the seasons past with Urban Meyer, now you have the new coaching staff that came in last year, Doug Peterson, what they're doing with Trevor Lawrence. Starting out this year, they started out the first week pretty well. You come into the Kansas City Chiefs game, you only pretty much lost by a possession because you lost by 8 points. It's still a pretty good way to come up against the actual Chiefs, but to finish with only 9 points, I feel like you should have gotten a little bit more out of this team. Trevor Lawrence with no touchdowns at all throughout the game, and the only touchdown that you did get was a defensive touchdown on an interception. So when I look at this as a whole, I mean, no, actually, no, you didn't even get the touchdown at all. You just got 3 field goals. You only got the 1 interception on defense. So when I put everything together about how this team played against the Chiefs, you're going to have to step things up on the offense if you're going to be competitive, because there's no way at the end of the season, or if you go to the playoffs and you play like that, by that point, the Chiefs are going to be rolling, or whoever's on top of that point, and they're going to steamroll over you if you're only going to be going in there getting field goals throughout the game.
Well, when these two teams played in January in Arrowhead, even though it was more scoring, the game pretty much flowed similar as to how this one did. The only difference was in this game, the defense just stood tall on both sides. But yes, I agree.
Well,
the
and
Jaguars offense has to.
And Jacksonville had also Calvin Ridley this time. They didn't have him last time.
They didn't have him in January. They do have him now, correct.
When I look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, is a different, that's the hugest difference for them at this point, because they didn't have him last year. So for you to have him as one of your weapons, and you didn't convert that into any type of scoring, that's terrible. Just 3 field goals, that is absolutely pathetic when you got Calvin Ridley and what he did throughout preseason when he had the small opportunities, and then week 1. I mean, he had a huge week 1.
I agree with you. I think the Jaguars, they need to tighten some things up offensively, and then they can probably do something. But yes, I think this proved they're still not ready for prime time. Although they hung with the big boys, they got to do more to beat them, no matter where they play them. The last Sunday 1 p.m. game, the Houston Texans at home in their home opener, the Liberty White, did their best to crap the bed, and they lost to the Colts 31-20. Now, C.J. Stroud, he threw his first touchdown of his career in the NFL. He threw for over 300 yards. But for the rest of the team, Dumpster Pelican alert. Dumpster Pelican alert. You all suck. Okay. Now, for the Colts, Gardner Minshew pitched through QB'd for Anthony Richardson, threw for over 160 yards. Richardson got a rushing touchdown before he had, unfortunately, to leave the game with a concussion. Your thoughts on this game?
For the Texans, like you said, C.J. Stroud came out and balled 384 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And Nico Collins did pretty well for him as well. 7 receptions for 146 yards. Yes. But like you said, the rest of this team pretty much played like dumpster Pelicans. They did terrible. And especially when you're playing against the Colts, when, Anthony Richardson's banged up in the game. He after only 10 passing attempts, 56 yards, he's banged up out of the game. You got Uncle Rico back in the game, Gardner Minshew in the game to take over the duties of playing quarterback. And it's 171 passing yards for a touchdown, does not turn the ball over. Gardner Minshew Mania is back and only missed 4 of his 23 passing attempts as he had 19 completions. Uncle Rico is back. Is he here to stay? No, because Anthony Richardson will be back. But when you are a team like the Colts coming off a dumpster Pelican-esque year, you have to look at Uncle Rico and you have to give it a thought. because you did play like Dumpster Pelicans last year, but Uncle Rico could lead you away from that ship.
Oh, Lord. Uncle Rico. Did not think we was going to slide that reference in here, but okay. Congratulations, Mr. Minshew, in spot duty for Anthony Richardson. Oh, my goodness. Now to the Sunday late affairs, and we'll begin in L.A., where the Rams had their home opener, and it looked like they were playing in Levi Stadium, only 430 miles south, and the 49ers took advantage of it, basically just wasting the Rams away in the second half. Final score was 30-23. It should have been 30-20, but it looks like Sean McVay was betting on the game. I'm sorry, my bad. I did not mean to say that out loud. Oh, excuse me, Lord. All right. Christian McCaffrey, he ran for a touchdown and had 116 rushing yards. Your thoughts, sir?
Brock Purdy, in this game, 206 passing yards, but doesn't score. Except for a rushing touchdown, but I don't really count that because he only had 3 carries for 5 yards. Okay, that's Dumpster Pelican status of running the football. Okay, I can't give it to him. But Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel were the ones that were huge for the scoring.
Yes,
for the San Francisco 49ers when it came to that, and then their defense stepped up as well with 2 interceptions on the day, because against this Rams, offense that is definitely not the same as their Super Bowl championship run that they had a few years back. They are a total different team when it comes. The only difference the same thing they got is Matthew Stafford. Other than that, between Matthew Stafford, who else they got playing right now that was on that team? Because they're all either hurt or gone. So when I look at the changes, the Rams are not the same team playing against the 49ers, who are definitely been on fire since last year. They've been on the come up the past few years. But ever since last year when Brock Purdy was inserted in there, they're a completely different team. And it shows when he doesn't even have any passing touchdowns and they're winning the game.
Right. Yeah. And I have often said it doesn't matter if the stats are gaudy. Just as long as that QB puts that team in position to win, that is what Brock Purdy does. And I love that about him. Oh, shout out to Puka Nakua. 15 receptions, 147 yards in the game. You did good. Unfortunately, it was in a losing effort. But congrats to you all. You fall to 1-1. 2-0 is what the 49ers are, and the 49ers still own the Rams. Ouch. Now, going into the desert, the Cardinals had a 20-0 lead, and they were up as much as 28-7 when they decided to just simply wet the bed and allow the Giants to come storming back and win 31-28. Now, the Giants successfully overcame that 21-point deficit with an onslaught that we didn't think they had. Unfortunately, going forward, Saquon Barkley was helped off the field with 1 minute remaining in that contest. Your impressions of this game?
First of all, Jonah, we haven't gotten to that yet. We will hear very shortly. Now,
yes, we are.
Comes to this game right here for the Giants. You got mollywopped the week before when you played the Cowboys. You had to come out here in this week and make a statement coming against a team, the Arizona Cardinals, who are the Dumpster Pelicans of the NFL right now. They are the definition of the Dumpster Pelican right here in this clip. They are Arizona Cardinals are Dumpster Pelicans. So when you're playing them, and you have to think about how the Commanders had a close one the week before. The Commanders, we'll get to that in a second on what they did to improve. But when it comes to, what the Commanders did against them in week 1, they struggled against them to an aspect.
Right.
So there was a chance that you were going to be able to do the same too. You're playing a completely different team between week 1 with the Cowboys and now with the Cardinals. Things have shifted totally. So if you lose this game as the Giants, you definitely need to pack it up for the season. Well, you come out here, you win the game. Was it pretty? No, but you got the win. It saved you from overall Dumpster Pelican status, and now you have a shot to redeem yourselves to go through the rest of the year. You still also have a chance to go 1-7. So, sorry, Wazell Hefty, but there's still a chance. You only have 1 win right now.
I will never live down that prediction on In and Out with him. Oh gosh. He calls you Mr. Disrespectful because of it. I'm like, wow, why? He should have known that was coming. Speaking about what you should have known what was coming, the Cowboys just simply beat down the Jets, 30-10. The score wasn't even indicative of the game itself. I mean, where could we start? The Cowboys offense basically just yawned their way through the game. Zach Wilson was Zach Wilson, and Micah Parsons ended up with 2 sacks in the game. Your thoughts of this demolishing?
I think it shows that the energy of Aaron Rodgers was still with the Jets in week 1 because, the way, he started the game with the momentum and they carried on that and got the win in week 1. This week 2 game by the Jets, they definitely looked like they were the team of last year. They definitely looked even worse than that. They played like even worse than what the Cardinals have been defined as dumpster Pelicans. I cannot wait until we get to the snowflake of the week because it's coming from this game.
Okay. So the snowflake of the week is coming from the Jets Cowboys contest. Okay, well, I definitely have to look forward to that. Will not get dumpster Pelican status. My boys, Washington Commanders. From a 21-3 deficit, they pull it out in Mile High to the tune of 35-33. They successfully overcame an 18-point deficit, and they had an 11-point lead and almost gave that away after a 50-yard Hail Mary was answered. However, a 2-point conversion throw to Judy from Russell Wilson, incomplete. So the Commanders start off 2-0. Take time to gush on your team. Your thoughts on them and their performance in Denver.
Well, the Commanders definitely played like the formerly known as the REDSKINS when they're showing up, given the most amount of cardiac arrest in all the history of all 32 teams of the league. That's why I call them the cardiac team. You watch a game by the Washington Commanders, and you are damn near going to have a heart attack. It is just absolutely on the agenda each and every time. You run the risk of this each and every time you watch the game because it's up and down, up and down. They had to come back from a 21-3 deficit, Cole. A quarter and a half in, down 18 points to get back to where they were at. Because, yesterday, Commanders Gridiron Report, bing, on Sartoba Media, you can watch. You can see the breakdown of the highlights. It broke down pretty much 7 of the highlights I thought were the impactful moments of the game. And you can see when they scored that first touchdown, Logan Thomas got popped in the dome piece. It definitely was not a fair shot by that defender over there, and he got ejected for that. Jackson did. So you got to look at this, when you take a shot like that, but the momentum of that, he held onto the ball and the toughness there, that whole team, the momentum shifted at that moment. It went from 21-10 at that moment as they had scored that touchdown to now they were going to be trending upward, and they did, and they won 35-33 as a result.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll talk a little bit more about your beloved Commanders later on in the show as well. But yes, congratulations to you guys showing grit and showing fight, showing toughness, actually. Going to 2-0. Yes, Michael Williams, what about those Commanders and how about them? And that's a good stat. First time they've been 2-0 in 12 years. Back when Rex Grossman was their QB. I forgot that he actually was a Commander. Well, of course, technically he wasn't. But yes, totally forgot he played. And yes, I agree with you, Michael. I think Brock Purdy is about to become the best Mr. Irrelevant status. I think he's well on his way there. Oh, but we don't talk about the Hail Mary. But the Hail Mary was fine. The 2-point conversion, which that would have brought the game to overtime, that was defended well. So there you go. You still got the W, even with the Hail Mary.
I don't know who he was throwing that ball to when he threw that on that 2-point conversion for one. But, the way that football was played like hot potato during that Hail Mary where like 4 or 5 different hands touched it. And then the last one had to tip it to himself in order to catch it for the touchdown. I mean, we saw some wild plays this past weekend between college football and the NFL. So definitely was a wild weekend of football overall this past weekend.
Yeah, it was wild. It was actually pretty good. Yeah. Now to the Sunday late game. The Patriots hosted the Dolphins. The Patriots coming off a 25-20 loss to the Eagles. They played just as uninspired Sunday night as they did last Sunday afternoon, to the tune of a 24-17 loss. Now, credit to the Dolphins defense. They gave you 4 sacks. And Raheem Mostert, what a performance. 18 carries, 121 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including the second touchdown in the fourth quarter that literally was the backbreaker for the Patriots. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
You know, the week before, the Eagles had Mac Jones looking like he was Tom Brady or something up there playing for the Patriots, as he had over 300 passing yards. He looked a little bit more like himself in this past game, you know, over the weekend. He was definitely humanized when you definitely look at how the Patriots played in this game against the Dolphins. But at the same time, the Dolphins kept the Patriots lingering around there a little bit too long, because the Dolphins, the way that they have been playing, should have mollywopped the Patriots. I mean,
I agree.
I expected the Dolphins to win this game, but I had them winning, I believe, and we talked about it last week, by more than 7 points. So when I think about the way that Mac Jones played, he was humbleized. He had 231 passing yards for 1 touchdown and 1 interceptions. And Ramondre Stevenson only had 50 rushing yards for, of course, he had that 1 touchdown. But Tua is leading this team, the Dolphins, to what could potentially be a deep playoff run this year. If he stays healthy and this team keeps clicking each and every week, I can see them building on this undefeated start. Maybe not undefeated for the rest of the season, but they can definitely win their division, get home field advantage, and potentially be in the AFC Championship game, if not further, this season.
Well, it's funny you say that. In the chat, Michael says, look, I'm just going to say it right now. The Patriots are nothing now.
Yes, Jonah.
He says garbage Pelicans, but dumpster Pelicans. They are. The Dolphins are a sleeper team to win the AFC East. And I actually thought they would be anyway going into the season. I did not need to see the 2 games that we actually witnessed, but it further lets me know I think this team is ready to really fight the Bills for AFC East supremacy. And if so, the Bills better wake up, because it's not going to be easy like it has been the last 3 years.
He has another great point here with the dynamic duo of Tua and Hill are unstoppable, and it definitely is looking that way. And by the way, Michael Williams' name, we call him Jonah, because if you get a good look at him with the longer hair, he looks like Jonah Hill pre-weight loss. We've always called him Jonah, but he has embraced it, has gone by Jonah for well over a decade. We call him Jonah out here in these streets in the hometown.
Well, I appreciate you, Jonah, and wonderful piece of analysis. I agree with all of you actually on this. But the Dolphins are 2-0, and I think they actually might be battling for the AFC East and contending for that, and probably go much further than just a division title in 2023 if Tua and Hill and Mostert, I will even put forth, can actually have a presence. So I agree with both of you. Now to the Monday slate. Oh, good Lord. Do we have to do this? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, we're live. Oh, so I'm so embarrassed. I'm sorry. So in Charlotte, the Panthers hosted the Saints 20-17. I was actually surprised when I saw the final score, because the game was bowling shoe ugly. And I did not think I was going to see 37 combined points to be scored at the end of it. Tony Jones Jr. had 2 touchdowns, but basically it was Derek Carr being rather Derek Carr-ish. Bryce Young still trying to find his way with that line that might as well be basically play with nobody in front of him and with very little skill beside him. Your thoughts on the first Monday Night Football game of the night?
Well, Derek Carr should be doing much better with who he has around him, because Chris Olave should be having more receiving yards, especially with what he did before Derek Carr. Okay. So I see that as a disappointment going into this game when you're playing a team like the Panthers, who you just said, Bryce Young is still trying to figure things out around an offensive line that is absolutely terrible. Okay. Adam Thielen's probably wondering, what in the blank did I do to deserve this right now? Okay. Because this team is absolutely hot garbage at 0-2. They look like they're 0-16, 0-17 right now is the way that they're playing, okay? They're lucky to have only lost by a field goal. But that also says a lot about the Saints, too, that you are keeping in there with the Panthers and only winning by a field goal. When you got Derek Carr, who only threw for 228 yards and turned the ball over, no passing touchdowns. And Tony Jones Jr. had 12 carries for 34 yards, Cole, to get 2 touchdowns as well. 2.8 yards per attempt with 2 touchdowns. And that's who your offensive MVP was besides Olave's 86 receiving yards. He deserved a touchdown for those 86 receiving yards. He deserved more from his quarterback. Yet you're playing the Panthers, and you look like you're playing somebody else that's better. The Panthers are not as good as what they played against the Saints.
That's right. Man, let that mic smoke. Yes, I 100% agree with you. There is a one syllable that I would want to strike from what what Drew just said. Yes. The Panthers, they are on a bridge going to nowhere, and the Saints should be ashamed of themselves for playing down to that competition, because they should easily hand the Panthers 2 L's this year. And here's the one of the 2 L's that they did get. They did hand them, but they wanted to say, hold my beer. We actually could be worse than you. Come on, Saints. You got to do better. You got to do better. Goodness gracious. And the second Monday Night Football game, the Browns-Steelers. The Browns offensively, they ruled the game. They actually did. I mean, they more than 2-1 outgained the Steelers. They more than 2-1 got first downs. But the Browns lost 26-22. Why? Because the Steelers got 2 defensive touchdowns. One off of a bobble pass in the first quarter that ended up in the Steelers' hands, returned for 6. And then Deshaun Watson in the fourth quarter, right into the hands of TJ Watt, and he waltzed into the end zone, giving the Steelers the difference. 26-22, bowl and shoe ugly of a game. And we'll talk about what really was the most important part of the game later in this program. But your thoughts, sir?
Did Deshaun Watson get a massage at halftime? That's what I was wondering. Because he came out, and he had 8 points in the third quarter and then went throwing blanks the rest of the game. Okay. So that's what I was thinking. Did the man get a rub down during halftime? I don't know. But definitely came out there playing like it when you're going against Kenny Pickett, the Kenny Powers of Pickett's out there at quarterbacks, leading the Steelers. Now, I will say this. The Steelers defense got my guy from the Commanders and Cole Holcomb, and Cole Holcomb showed up last night. So I got to give all the credit in the world to Cole Holcomb showing up for the Steelers, because when I look at this defense and what Cole Holcomb did, he had 3 tackles, 5 assists. I mean, that's a huge integral part to what that defense did last night. And they were mentioning his name, it seemed like every other play when the defense is out there for the Steelers. So he was definitely heavily involved. That's why I was really upset to see Cole Holcomb go during this past offseason. I really wish the Commanders would have kept him, but I understand it's a business at the same time. But he definitely showed up for the Steelers last night, and I feel like that, along with the rest of the players in that defense, it wasn't just him alone, but the rest of the players on that defense was what really made a huge impact last night against the Browns.
Yeah, and I really do feel for the Steelers defense because, man, if the Steelers are going to go anywhere this year, they're going to probably have to do similar to what they did last night. They're going to have to probably score a touchdown, maybe even 2, just to make it a difference. And because those 2 touchdowns was needed to get the margin of victory that they got. And they are overworked because this offense just cannot get going. I mean, and it got pieces. That's what makes me shake my head. They have pieces on the Steelers offense. They just don't have it together. And the Steelers defense just is overworked. The Browns offense, look, you need to buy your defense a lot of gifts because they only allowed 12 points and you lost them the game. You should be ashamed of yourselves for the performance you put forth in Acrisure Stadium. That should not be how you reward your defense.
Jonah brings up another great point here, too. We're talking about Cole Holcomb at the linebacker position. He isn't an elite, but always gets the job done. I'd say it's a pretty fair analysis for him. He has the potential to be an elite linebacker. And one of the very few interviews I've done with Commanders players, he was one of them that I have a little of a clip that I played before, back when they were formerly known as the REDSKINS. And I always wanted great things from that dude. So I think that the sky's the limit for him. He definitely still has time to reach that height, but I think he might end up being in that classification, like Jonah said, where he is an elite but always gets the job done. That might sum up his career when he hangs him up, but he still has time to live up to the potential.
And speaking of someone who is an elite, Jonah goes in on Deshaun. He says, isn't an elite quarterback in the league. I don't know why the Browns went and signed him to begin with. Well, I can tell you why.
And guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. The Browns organization is that desperate, and I will still put in present tense, is that desperate that they'll sign somebody who would masturbate in front of her. I mean, they would sign somebody that had the legal trouble that he did and stayed away for about one full season and one partial season, just so they can have anybody to be the play caller of their team. They're just that desperate.
They need a playmaker, not a play caller. So go ahead, bring him out the witness protection program because he will definitely help you out with the playmaking.
100% agree with you there. Oh my gosh. Woo, that was good. All right, let's get to the game of the week, and that would be Ford Field. The Lions, 1-0, going up against the 0-1 Seahawks. Early on, it looked like the Lions had it in control, but they simply lost it in the third quarter. The Seahawks came on strong. The Lions came back, but with a touchdown pass to Tyler Lockett in overtime from Geno Smith, the Seahawks prevailed 37-31 over the Lions in overtime. And if I'm mistaken, I think that means they have beaten them 2 straight years in Ford Field. Geno Smith passed for 328 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jared Goff for the Lions, in a losing effort, passed for 323 yards with 3 touchdowns. Unfortunately, he did throw a pick. Your thoughts on this game?
Jared Goff is looking solid throughout the good portion of this game here. But like you said with that pick, that was the difference maker in this game right here, because that one turnover alone, we break it down in so many games on, just like week 1 with the Commanders had 3 turnovers, this week didn't have any. And then you saw what happened where they were able to win the game, because they didn't do what they did the previous game. So in this case right here, when you're throwing a costly interception like that to a team that is known for what they did last year with Geno Smith, he has been no stranger to not winning games and to putting them into good positions to win. And you do that. The Lions came into this game ready to bite some kneecaps off, and they were definitely starting it out right with that. But unfortunately, they didn't keep it going consistently to where by the end of the game, when that one pick came into the equation, it cost them the game.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, because, you're right. If Goff doesn't throw that pick, the Lions win the game. You're correct about that. Both teams go away from Ford Field 1-1. Well, let's hope that both teams actually strive for better. That was Total Football Talk's game of Week 2 of the 2023 season, as the Seahawks beat the Lions 37-31. And with that, we'll take our first commercial break. We'll be right back. The Gridiron Scoop is next.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989 on 2. Ready? Hey.
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Bobby J and Wise El Jefe, Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure. Welcome back to Total Football Talk, Gridiron Analysis the way you like it. With Drew Willingham, I am Cole Johnson. To the feedback zone before we do get started with the Gridiron Scoop. Jonah, thank you, sir. He says, look, Colin Kaepernick could have probably helped the Browns organization, but no one is going to give him a chance, it seems. Look, I look at it this way. That bridge has been burned for the last 4 years, and it's unfortunate. It is really unfortunate.
He's been out of the game too long to make an impact anywhere.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, I don't necessarily agree with that one, but I see where you're coming from. But I have to give a quick shout out to Cole on those fire commercials right there. Those were great. I love commercial breaks here when we have this show with Cole.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And there'll be more to come. some that you have produced too. So yes, be ready for that. Latine in Cali, it is good to see you. She says, hi, did y'all hear about Bronny James, son of LeBron, collapsing in practice and Caleb White at age 17? Yeah, it's, man. Yeah, that's just a horrible thing. But from what I've understood, he's convalescing, but we hope things are better for him. And I think the season for USC begins basketball, begins around November. So hopefully for them, he can be on the court and LeBron can cheer him on, hopefully. But, wait a minute. This is not basketball. This is football. But, but yes, here we are back at Total Football Talk. And it is time for the Gridiron Scoop. Let's start with the unfortunate news of the week and of the day. Nick Chubb, superstar running back for the Cleveland Browns. He is expected to miss the rest of the season with an extremely significant knee injury. Now, it happened in the second quarter of last night's game between the Browns and the Steelers, and he suffered an injury that can only be described as brutal and gruesome. The coach of the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, he said after his team's loss that he expects Chubb to miss the remainder of the season, though he didn't really go into any details as to how severe it will be. He went on to say the following, quote, Obviously, Nick has got a very significant knee injury. You feel for the person. He's a great football player, as we know, but he's an even better person, so we will support him every step along the way. Close quote. Now, my question to you, sir. What do the Browns do going forward?
It's a good question because Jerome Ford picked up the slack when he went
He
down
looked really good.
and got over 100 yards. However, when you look at what Jerome Ford's production was in the first week against the Bengals, he only had 36 rushing yards. So the 1-2 punch heavily favored Chubb. Now, what the question's going to be going forward, who can be the 1-2 punch with Jerome Ford going forward? Because Elijah Moore had 1 attempt for 5 yards. And Pierre Strong Jr., 2 attempts for 1 yard. That's not going to cut it. You can't just have one guy running the ball because you're going to know what to expect each and every time he lines up back there in a running formation. So you have to have some type of 1-2 punch. And that's what I'm afraid of. You either need to pick somebody up off the waiver line, make a trade, or your other guys need to step up because you're not going to be able to do it this year without Chubb. And we already know the question marks surrounding the team is what we talked about earlier with the game highlights. You definitely are not going to make it that far without Chubb this year.
No. The Browns, I think, will be suffering because of that significant dip in production. And Nick Chubb, and not the person. Maybe for 2023 season, I would say, I think that's RP to the 2023 season for Nick Chubb. I agree with you, Jonah. You have a visitor, and so do I. My mentality brother, why is it laughing before he goes on to Stuck in My Mind? I hope you have a great interview, brother. He says, no, and he's a big Giants fan when he says they did not get blown out again. No. Congratulations to your Giants on squaring their record at 1-1. He says, good afternoon, my brothers. Good afternoon to you, man. Jonah, he says, look, they shouldn't have gotten rid of Kareem Hunt. He'd help out that rushing offense for the Browns. I agree. Unfortunately, I think for some reason, he and the team started to clash for some reason. I think probably because he was feeling at odds with the fact that the team was loving Chubb more. But hey, when you have a black Nick Chubb that can give you the production he can give you, how could you not?
And now look at how things are without Kareem Hunt. Like they would be loving to have him in that offensive lineup right now. But unfortunately, that just didn't work out.
No, it didn't. It's unfortunate. It is. From one injury to another. Now, we mentioned it earlier. Anthony Richardson, he actually got to a strong start Sunday, 2 rushing touchdowns. But his day came to an abrupt end early. The Colts rookie quarterback was ruled out in the victory over the Texans after sustaining a concussion. Of course, that means now he is in concussion protocol. The Colts head coach and former coordinator for the Eagles, Shane Steichen, said that the Richardson self-reported concussion symptoms and the team believes that he was hurt on the second touchdown play. Now, my question to you about that, sir. How can QBs like Richardson protect themselves from that type of injury?
It's tough because the way it all happens so fast. And that when in the game of football, things are boom, 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 happen so quick. It's like being in a car wreck, with the impact of how things are or the aftermath. So it's tough for me personally to even answer how he can do to protect himself besides sliding. I mean, we see it each and every game. I mean, when you got quarterbacks running, Sam Howell running for the Commanders, other quarterbacks who are trying to be mobile, if you do not slide, even Russell Wilson was sliding. We saw it primarily. If you want to get RG3'd, that's basically the best way I can put it. If you want to get RG3'd, then don't slide. But if you don't want to get RG3'd, then slide like everybody else. Protect yourself. That's exactly, Jonah. That's where I was alluding to. The only thing I can think of in my thoughts to protect yourself are to slide. That's what you have to do if you're Anthony Richardson to protect yourself going forward. Because if not, Uncle Rico's going to come in there, sling the rock, and win the game like he did this past weekend.
Another Uncle Rico sighting. Okay. And another Uncle Rico mention. Latine, I agree with you. Knee injuries last forever. And although you can recover and still perform, the thought is I don't want to injure it does play into many players' minds. And with Nick Chubb, she's talking about, and it does suck. And it's unfortunate. Jonah also after slide said, don't lead with your head. And I'm seeing more quarterbacks do that. And I think if you do the baseball slide, I think they would be better protected. But
I mean, of course, you run the risk of maybe losing a yard or two by not doing it the other way. If you do go head first, you may gain 1 to 3 yards, depending on what your leap is like. Okay. However, is that 1 to 3 yards worth risking like positive parts of your life going forward when you're after football? Because if you can slide and lose a few yards, maybe get it on the next play. But at the end of the day, you still need to have some type of quality of life at the end of the day when you get to be 50, 60, 70 years old, because you're already going to be impacted by some type of CTE. You're just going to be making it worse if you're head diving in there. Of course, the play that John Elway did back in the 90s for the Broncos when he dove and did the helicopter spin into the end zone. But the more you do stuff like that, the more risk you run of having an impacted later life in your life.
Yeah. Good point. And a lot of former players will tell you such. That's a really good point. I agree with you. Man, I love to call Gerald or Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys and the general manager of the team and the cheerleader and the concession stand worker and the play-by-play guy and the color guy. I'm sorry. My bad. This is not commentary on Gerald. He says that he wants to increase minority involvement with the ownership level in NFL franchises. Now, he went on to say the following, quote, nobody got on a wing and a prayer any more than I did, and I really couldn't afford it. But I got into it, and we look and say, and we do say, the qualified potential buyers out here that can get involved, and that's one way. That's not the only way. There are multiple ways to address inequity, multiple ways to do it, and certainly I would think about one way is to try and work out ownership, get improved in the minority area, and I'm all for it, and I'd do it. I'd work at it. Close quote. My question to you, sir. When it comes to this issue, how serious is Gerald?
Well,
let me talk to you.
As serious as I was reading his quote.
I think all he wants at the end of the day is this.
Acknowledge me.
He's just looking for the credit for himself, the positive type of heat to come his way. It's only sticking his neck out to make himself personally look better out here in these streets. There's no gain for minorities from this. It's only for himself.
I couldn't have put the words in your brain better than that.
That's why I had to bring him. That's why I had to bring my man LA Knight into this.
I agree with everything you said, because yes, I believe this is attention getting, attention grabbing, attention seeking. To say, well, look what I did. Look at me. Yeah, that's what I believe. Jonas says, look, players like Sean Taylor and the Legion of Boom Seattle have set a standard of hit sticking the opposing player. Players still do it now. Ray Lewis and Patrick Willis were famous as this as well. Yeah. You got a lot of defenders who simply they want to give you that remember me shot. And yeah, even with quarterbacks, they definitely want to give them the remember me shots. And I think quarterbacks have to really understand these defenders, they really want you gone. I mean, they want you out, and they will try to get you out the game. And I think these quarterbacks don't really understand that. They think their RG3 is a prime example. They think their athleticism can get them past that. And no. And speaking of past, look, Gerald, be more entertaining. Go back to the you that was in luxury boxes with 25-year-old blondes you was reaching under the skirts of them. Go back to that Gerald and don't come with the nicer kind of gentler Southern gentleman guy that you claim to be. Goodness gracious. I'm sorry. I could go on Gerald for decades. But I think that will conclude the Gridiron Scoop. Total football talk. Where my dogs at? Oh, yes, it's time for the Grand Champ, where we award the Dog of the Week in the NFL for week 2. And Drew, who is your Grand Champ for this week?
People are going to call this a homer pick, but I have to do this from my Washington Commanders. People call them the commies. I call them the formerly known as the REDSKINS, because you look at my team and you look at what they did. And you look at what Sam Howell did, standing tall in the pocket. Oh, Sammy, slinging the rock around, no interceptions. Learned from playing the week 1 game against the Arizona Dumpster Pelican Cardinals and came back in week 2 and did what he did against the other Dumpster Pelicans known as the Denver Broncos, okay? And even though it was close, you're still playing a Super Bowl winning coach and a Super Bowl winning quarterback being Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. Even they were on 2 separate franchises, and they are definitely not going to do it on the Dumpster Pelican-esque Denver Broncos. You still came into town in an away game, your first ever away game as a starting quarterback, and you came in and you beat the Dumpster Pelicans like you did out there in Denver, Colorado. I have to give it to Sammy. Have to give it to old Sam Howell. That is my pick for the Dog of the Week.
Oh my gosh. I just knew you was going to pick Sam Howell. I just knew it. I was like, I bet he's going to pick Sam. But you know what? All kidding and joking aside, he almost over 300 yards in that game. So, and he had a wonderful.
Short.
Yeah, he had a wonderful game. He settled the team down when the team could have said, "Okay, we'll just mail it in. This is an L. We'll just go back home and prepare for the Bills." But no, they hung in there, and he was the one to lead them to hang in there. So yes, I agree. I think Sam deserves that type of credit. Before I go to my Grand Champ, VLock83 or Victor Locke. He says, shout out to the EP extraordinaire, Cole Johnson. Thank you, sir. And the exterminator of Dumpster Pelican, Sensei Drew Willingham. And he's a Cowboys fan, for those who don't know. He says, how about Gerald actually being a competent owner and putting a title-winning team together? I love Cowboys fan that actually calls accountability to the carpet. Thank you, Victor.
He's one of the very few. I can probably only count like 5 Cowboy fans on my hand that I know personally that actually call it down the middle, other than we're going to the Super Bowl each year.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to go Super Bowl. Jerry going to get us a team. We're going to go on down there, sling the rock around, and get 4 or 5 touchdown game, win this game, because we're down Cowboys. We're going to be champions up on the hill, some say.
Look at them rhymes. Look at them rhymes. Yeah. Rings so antique that you need to dust them every year. Goodness gracious.
I mean, I don't have much room to talk, but I at least can say that the Washington Commanders, formerly known as the REDSKINS fans, know their expectations and know that they're not going to the Super Bowl each and every year. There's going to be a spike in heart attacks when the Commanders, or whatever they're called at that time, make it to the Super Bowl, because it's going to be such a surprise.
Oh my gosh. A spike, huh? Okay. All right. Well, I probably will disappoint my Commanders brethren. But I had to actually give my Grand Champ, to Micah Parsons. And I say that from the understanding of this guy is playing like he really does want to be the biggest disruptor on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL. The 2 sacks is just one part of his overall game. He influenced having that ridiculous crew of defensive guys basically be, to me, Super Bowl caliber. And if I were a Cowboys fan, I actually would say I'd want you to have the defense play both ways, because I don't trust the offense, but the defense I trust because they are Super Bowl caliber. And he is one leading the charge. And he made Zach Wilson look Zach Wilson. I mean, he was in charge of that. So hats off to you. Honorable mention to Chris Jones, but Micah Parsons, dude, you're well on your way to getting a Defensive Player of the Year. And I know if you can help it, you probably would want to bring the whole team along with you if you could play both ways. But Micah, you are my this week, bro, and you deserve it. And with that, we'll be back with featured attractions. Coming up next, the featured attractions. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated, creating content magic in the real world.
Yeah. But hey, that was last year. And what did he was out.
Right. And now he's in.
But he's been out for an entire year. It's not, you can't think he's going to make the same impact that he did before he was suspended.
I'm telling you, he won't have to.
What?
See how
Is he going to keep his phone down and not make bets?
Come
on, man.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign DWillie87. Go ahead, hit him up on the Cash App, and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
If you're looking for a sports program that gives you the flavor. Washington Commanders? Really?
This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
That pulls no punches. Thuggish act by a thuggish actor. That gives you some humor. Praise everything LeBron does and never criticize it. If you want a show that gives you good times, then this is that show. BS3 Network proudly presents. I am Cole Johnson, and welcome to Cole Sports with a Z. Every Friday on Patreon, and every Saturday on YouTube, Spreaker, and all other outlets.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk with the wonderful producer himself, Drew Willingham, with those last commercials. I am Cole Johnson. Yeah, you're brilliant, bro.
Hey, thank you, but I still love that Cole Sports commercial, and I look forward to each and every episode.
Thank you.
Cole Sports. I cannot say it like you say it, but I love it each and every time because it is an awesome show, entertaining, and it's the classiest of the classiest of shows. So please make sure you tune into that show each and every Friday.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. And yes, definitely, in or out, one of the best shows going. and this is my man that does it. I love what Drew does. Anything he does is great, but definitely in or out. He, I know from experience, he makes his guests feel very comfortable, and I love the fact that he allows us to be us. Well, because he's one of us, and that's how Drew rolls, and I love it. I love it. To the chat before we head to the chopping block, Latine, this is how we always roll, man. Masculinity great again. Forget soy boys. There you go. I'm with you, girl. Definitely. Jonah says, look, grand champs, Tua and Hill. Well, definitely last week I would say they would deserve it. This week, not so much. But hey, they still got the W. That's really all that matters. But he says, joking. The grand champ from my Commander's team, Chase Young.
Yeah, I would say so. That's another good pick because coming back from the injury and with the impact that he made in that game, yeah, I'll give you that too. Definitely a defensively good grand champ. I had to give it to Sam Howell with what he overcame from the week before.
I know a few who covered the Commanders along with Drew, and they were basically saying the team, especially Montez Sweat, was loving the fact that Chase was on the field again. And it looks like the defense is loving him being on the field, which it's a great time to actually see a stud like him do his thing on the line. And I hope he can stay healthy and continue to do what he has been doing when he was newly in the league before he got injured. One of your boys, Melvin Turismo, he says, Willie Bucks, man. I love those Willie Bucks. I do too. I thought that's one of the most ingenious things I've seen ever created. I'm like, Lord, Willie Bucks. I can't hate on it if I tried. I can't. That was ingenious, bro.
I brought it up during like episode 95 of the In-Or-Out Sports Debate, and I let Darrell say it, and then I took that clip and I made it into what I made it. And that was actually the transition was what you made for the Sports Senseis for that for the Cash App. So I just put the two together, and that's how that was born.
I love it. That was one good stroke of creative genius from you, man. And Darrell, you delivered a beautiful VO, although I know it was off the cuff.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't know.
No, he did it. I put the dollar up there with my face on it, and that's what he read off of. It didn't even have what you had in there for the Cash App part that you did. All I did was just throw the dollar bill up on the screen, and that's how he came off the cuff with that. And then I put all of it together afterwards.
That's beautiful. Oh my gosh. VLog83 says, look, 7 seconds. 7 seconds after the Jets game. This is stuff I heard. I'm like, wait a minute, Romantic Republic of Cowboys Nation. Let's see what happens during the rest of the season. Yeah, I'm with you. Joni says he has to go. He says he has to go to work, have fun. You be safe, as my brother says. Be safe out in them streets.
Yeah, be safe, Jonah. I'll see you soon. Appreciate you tuning in.
It's good to meet you, brother. I'm glad that you tuned in to Total Football Talk. And yes, I have dealt with a lot of ridiculous moronic Republic of Cowboys Nation fans for almost all of my life. So yes, I know the feeling. Goodness, I know the feeling.
And I love that Latina and Callie is here, and especially throwing another smiley face up in here. It's always a great party when Latina and Callie is in the comments for the show.
Yeah, she's awesome. Awesome supporter. Has always been.
And I will never forget, and I will say it's been a year now that she saved me from COVID.
I love that.
She gave me some remedies, and I was able to recover pretty quick from COVID. So if it wasn't for Latina and Callie, when I had COVID back last year, I would not have recovered like I did. So thank you, Latina and Callie, again, as you are now here.
Oh, wow. Nice. All right. I'll give that to you later. But for now, featured attraction, shall we? We are now in week 3 of the NFL season, and we will start with the Thursday night tilt. The Giants at 1-1, visiting the 49ers, who are in Levi Stadium for the first time this year. The 49ers are favored by 10.5. The kickoff for this game is at 8:15, and all times are Eastern that we will say it on this program. So I will start with, how can the Giants generate offense, since we know that Saquon Barkley was helped off the field with 1 minute to go this past Sunday? How could they generate any offense without him?
Well, they still haven't technically ruled him out for this next game when it comes to Saquon Barkley. But you and I both know there's a really good chance he's not playing. I mean, there's a really good chance he's not playing at all, and it would be smart not to play him after the way that he exited the last game. The Giants came back and won this past game, but this is going to be where the trajectory goes down, and they start that path towards 1-7 as they will lose to the 49ers this Thursday. I'm sorry, Wazo, it is happening. You're going to lose to the 49ers for their first home game of the season. Of course, you got the 49ers who come into this week. They're doing what they're doing. They are undefeated starting the season out, and they finally get to play at home, and you're expecting them to lose? No, sir. No way. No how. Giants lose, beginning to 1-2, and then they will lose 5 straight more games to have a 6-game losing streak and start the year 1-7.
Oh my gosh. Wise won't be able to live it down from you if that actually does come true. A Commanders fan would predict correctly the 1-7 beginning of a 2023 season. Yeah, he will not live it down. I already know. Now, on the other side of the ball, I noticed something in the first half of the game they played against the Rams Sunday. The Rams, who were not really known for physicality, they were actually able to bring it to them, especially on the defensive interior. So are we actually seeing cracks with the interior of the 49ers defense?
A little bit, especially when you see how close the game was this past week. I mean, the 49ers are definitely still a hot team, but they're another team that you would expect to be scoring a little bit more or giving up less when it comes through the opposition scoring. So I feel like we are seeing some little bit of fractures within that defense, but it's not something that can't be fixed. And we're only 2 weeks into the regular season. There's still time to tighten things up. So we can't be giving up hope just yet.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree with that. And I wouldn't. So you already picked the 49ers, obviously, and so do I. I'm just praying that the Giants don't have another 40-0 game to a stout defense in the 49ers as they did with the Cowboys back in Jersey. All right. The Monday night tilt. Well, I'm sorry, one of the 2 Monday night tilts, at least the one that I'm interested in. The Eagles, who are 2-0, they go to Tampa to face the fellow 2-0 Buccaneers, the only game where you have undefeateds going at it. The Eagles are favored by 5.5. Kickoff is at 7:15 on Monday night. Now, the game this past Thursday that the Eagles had at home against the Vikings, there seemed to be a little tete-a-tete between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, and I think it was concerning the involvement of Brown or lack thereof. Is there fire with Hurts and Brown having a disagreement?
No, they're playing 2 totally different teams. The Buccaneers defense is not the same as what they played against with the Vikings. Okay, so we got to at least give them that credit there. Also, you're not going to have Bunker Stayfield throwing 4 touchdowns against you either to keep it that close to where you have to do what you did in order to come out with the victory. Okay, so there's some question marks there. But I feel like you got a better chance of winning this game against the Buccaneers on Monday Night Football than you would if it was against the other team that we just spoke about, the Vikings on Monday Night Football, if you had to play them again. Because the differences between the 2 teams, the Buccaneers are not the same team that they were going into that Super Bowl in 2020, okay, and winning. They got some pieces from that time frame, but they're not the same team. It's not like you take out Tom Brady from that type of team and you put in Bunker Stayfield. That's why Tom Brady still stuck around the past 2 seasons, because parts of that team that went to the Super Bowl were still there, and they had a chance to potentially go on maybe one more run but they just didn't have enough around them. And Tom Brady, it was time for him to leave. Bunker Stayfield comes in at the end of all that, where they still have some people around him that are capable of lifting that team up. But you don't have the overall pieces around you to beat a team that just went to the NFC Championship, won, and went to the Super Bowl, and almost won that too. So I think the Eagles will end up going 3-0, and the Buccaneers will be the ones to where their undefeated streak ends this Monday.
All right. So for the Buccaneers, look, Mayfield threw it all over the yard for the against the Bears. He did pretty decent the week before against the Vikings, but they attempted running, but it seemed to not really go, I think, the way they planned. So can a running game actually accompany Bunker Stayfield? Baker Mayfield's efficiency in the air?
That's a really good question, because that's something that the team has had some question marks around, even when you had LaShawn McCoy on the team back when he was there, and Leonard Fournette, old playoff Lenny. Playoff Lenny only had that one good year. I mean, other than that, Ronald Jones at times. What good running core has been around this Tampa Bay team? If it wasn't for Tom Brady slinging it for 4,000 yards every year, they wouldn't have been as far in contention as they were each and every year. So even though they've had solid moments and flashes in the pan of running backs getting it done, that's going to be the part that makes this team take a little bit of a dive at some point this season, I feel like, when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I think that is what's going to hurt them eventually. And there were some people who were picking him to win the NFC South, but the reason why I did not was what you just said. The running game has been persona non grata. Even when Brady was there, they would have glimpses, they would have moments, but it would just simply not really truly be there. And I'm with you. I will also pick the Eagles as well. I just don't think the Bucs have anything for the Eagles. I really don't.
I don't think they're going to get decimated. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to get decimated, because they still have a decent team around them. But when you have Bunker Stayfield at quarterback going against the Eagles, I feel like they're going to probably lose by 7 to 10 points.
Yeah, it's not going to be an embarrassment. But I just think that whatever the Bucs can throw, the Eagles can throw back even more and even better. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's not going to be a blowout. Watch, it probably will be. And in the final game that we will put under featured attractions, this will warm my partner's heart. The Buffalo Bills at 1-1. They traveled to Landover to face off against the Washington Commanders at 2-0. Now, he won't like this. The Bills are favored by 6.5. So kickoff is at 1 p.m. on Sunday. For the Bills, they did a really good. They did a really bang up running job against the Raiders. I think they amassed over 170 yards against them. Can the Bills stay the course and run the football with James Cook and not have Josh Allen run so much?
Well, they did this past week. And we were just talking about that earlier in the show about how, Josh Allen had 7 rushing yards all game.
Yeah.
And if they can keep him down to that, to where he's not really running, but he's standing tall in the pocket and slinging the rock around, I think he's going to be okay. James Cook, of course, had 123 rushing yards in this past game. It was against the Raiders, who are playing like absolute dumpster pelicans in their nice, freshly, newly built stadium they've had for not quite some time. Yes, the dumpster pelicans of the AFC are the Raiders and the Chargers, is what it seems like so far, is the two dumpster pelican teams of the AFC. Now, you go from playing them to the Commanders, the Commies, the formerly known as the Redskins. They are undefeated, and you expect to come in there and to be swapping them all around. No, you're not going to be mopping them all around. Bills, you got to be careful when you come into DC, Orlando, Maryland, 1 o'clock kickoff. I'm not even going to give them a prediction yet. I'm going to save that for the very last part of this topic.
I figured you would. All right. Now, speaking of your Commanders, one of the things that I did notice with Sam Howell throwing for 299 yards in Denver, was I mentioned the steadying presence of Sam Howell. I want to talk about the probably even bigger steadying presence of their assistant head coach and the offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy. Now, what does he bring to the Commanders' offense?
I think simplicity and as far as the way things should go for the offense, a lot more communication. Definitely breaks things down to where it's simplified in some cases, but also provides more structure within the way that they go about things, whether it's practice or even in the film room. You hear even some of our colleagues out here who are definitely in the media rooms over there talking about the fact that he's got a different level of command on this team as an assistant head coach, as an offensive coordinator. There's a way different command over this team in that section of the team than what we saw previously with Scott Turner in there. So there's a completely different shift and tide in the way things work within that locker room with Eric Bieniemy in there. I like what I'm seeing as far as the aggressive play calling that he's making in situations, especially on 3rd and 4th down. They are not shy for going for it and being ballsy with what they're doing and their decisions of what they're making to go for it. I really like with what Eric Bieniemy is doing over there in Washington.
I do too. I do too. I think he is a literal true breath of fresh air. And I think he is what they needed. And I love the word that you used, simplicity. I think they tried to get too complex for their own good. And I think what Eric has done is he has simplified things. And he's basically said, look, it's all about execution. And he's made it about that. And they seem to have their moments where they lack that execution, but then they seem to have their moments when they execute beautifully. And that has been in both the games they played, both the home game against the Cardinals and the road game against the Broncos. So who do you have, sir?
In this game, when you have the Buffalo Bills coming to town to take on the Washington Commanders, as much as I want to sit up here and say that the Commanders are going to start this year undefeated at 3-0, I have to be realistic here, and I have to look at what the Bills did this past weekend. Do I think that they're going to have a deficit at that point to 38-10? No. I feel like it's going to be a little bit closer. It's going to be a game that's under 11 points, but the Bills are going to win in Landover. They're going to come in here, take the win over the Commanders. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I can sit up here next week and say that I was wrong about my team, just like I did yesterday on the Commanders Gridiron Report when I gave that prediction for the same exact outcome for this game. I didn't say 11 points or less, but I did say I feel like the Bills are going to come in here. It's going to be a pretty respectable defeat, but I feel like the Bills, with what they've got around them, have a good chance of beating the Commanders at home this weekend. Well, away for the Bills, but at home for the Commanders.
Yeah, if they play the way they did Sunday, I don't think it's going to be 38-10, but they will have a victory over the Commanders. I would say more along the range of maybe like 31-25, 31-26, 31-27, like around there. But if they were to play like they did last Monday, the Commanders could have them. I think the Bills have learned their lesson. I think they learned their lesson. I think they will go to Landover. I think they're going to have a victory. I think they're going to pull it out. I think both teams are going to be 2-1, but I think you're going to be happy, if Commanders fans. I think you're going to be happy with the performance that your team will give, because in defeat they're going to fight their way, and the Bills are going to have to earn the victory. And I think, to me, that would show progress. Even in defeat, you all would be happy with that and would show progress, because the Bills are one of the big boys, and the Commanders can test and see if they're ready for the big boys. And with that, we will be back. The chopping block is next, and then we get to award the Snowflake of the Week. Next, the chopping block and Snowflake of the Week. This is Total Football Talk. Join Ryan McCarthy.
I became a Jets fan because Kermit the Frog was my favorite Muppet because he was green, and the Jets wore green. That's how I become a Jets fan.
And Dustin Henry.
ESPN is cashing all in on let's pay a few personalities and we'll just kind of fill in the gaps
As they walk you through all of the world of sports from their perspective.
The Albany Empire, it's a literal circus.
No credentials required. Where, Ryan, say the tag.
Where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. On YouTube and where you can find all podcasts. This is a BS3 Network presentation.
I want to do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life-holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. Live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central. Football, and more football, you say? Well, tune in to Total Football Talk. Join your hosts, Drew Willingham.
You were playing like a dumpster Pelican quarterback.
And Cole Johnson.
It sets up a possible play action. Did you hear that, Dak Prescott?
As they take you through all the paces, both on the field and in the boardroom, of Total Football Talk. Every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. Exclusively on the Sertoba Media and the Comey Media Incorporated YouTube channel.
I could watch a whole show of just Cole Johnson commercials. I absolutely love it, especially that clip of me talking about dumpster Pelicans. That was great with Joe Burrow. I love it. We are back for Total Football Talk.
I was wanting you to look at that. That was one of the things that I was hoping you'd get a chance to see, and I was saying I'm pumped for it because of that. Because I was like, oh, I think he's going to love it when
I'm clipping that. I'm clipping that out. Putting that all over social media tonight. Once the show's over, watch out social media. Like Deion Sanders, I'm coming.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. He's coming. I'm coming too. You doggone right. Oh, yes. And also, we're coming with this chopping block. The New York Jets' first game without Aaron Rodgers was what's the word I could use? A disaster. I mean, Zach Wilson threw 3 picks in the 30-10 loss to the Cowboys on Sunday in Arlington, Texas. But afterwards, the Jets rallied around Rodgers' replacement with confidence-building words and gestures. In the locker room, you had Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver, put his arms around the young QB and gave him words of encouragement. The 3 tight ends were there too, showing support. And it was a telling scene because the Jets made it a point to not cast any blame on their former starter turned backup. Now, Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver again, had this to say, quote, "From the outside looking in, it's easy to play the quarterback blame game. Honestly, that's the world we live in, where you look at the top man, the head man, the quarterback, the one who makes the money, and then point the finger. But all of us internally know that we all have to take the right steps and get better." Close quote. Now, earlier in the week, Robert Saleh said that they were going to roll with Zach Wilson going forward, and he felt confident that they would be winning with him. My question to you, sir, what is Robert Saleh smoking?
He is smoking some kind of drugs, because when you have Zachary Capono Wilson in there as your leading rusher, okay, as your leading rusher with 5 attempts for 36 yards, and you have Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook on your running back staff. You just brought in Dalvin Cook. He did decent things with the team the week prior, and Breece Hall has 4 carries on 9 yards, and Dalvin Cook has 4 carries on 7 yards. You didn't think it could get worse than Breece Hall, but Dalvin Cook found a way. I think whatever Robert Saleh was smoking, the running backs were smoking too. And so was Zachary Capono-Wilson. Because you look at how he played at the quarterback position. And I'm going to keep saying the same. Zachary Capono-Wilson. Because who names their kid Capono?
Oh my gosh, I love it when you just go ham. Oh my. Yeah. If you're going to help the quarterback out, 9 carries between the 2 running backs you expect to carry the offense in a game is not going to cut it. I mean, that's ridiculous. I don't care how formidable the defense is. If that is all you got to do to protect your quarterback, heck, you might as well, even if you go 40 carries for 80 yards, hey, you at least attempted to protect the quarterback with the running game. And you might break off a run or 2. But nah. 2 backs that you're counting on, and both of them combined do not get 10 Nah, man. Nope. You can't spray cologne over the crap that you're spewing. No. Let me go.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Aaron Rodgers' season-ending injury, it actually reignites the NFL players' furor over the turf surfaces they play on. Now, it's a debate that simply just won't quit. Not now, and I'm thinking not ever, which is grass versus turf. Now, Aaron Rodgers, of course, suffered a season-ending ruptured Achilles tendon last Monday while playing on artificial surface at MetLife. And then you have David Bakhtiari expressing disdain for playing on said fake grass. And he said, quote, "It sucks. No one enjoys playing on it. Everyone is too scared to talk about it. NFL, just do better. Be better. Be an advocate for us and help us out." Close quote.
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was channeling the owners there. I'm sorry. How ineffective is the NFL Players Association when it comes to pressuring owners to do anything?
To the point that this should happen.
Yeah!
Because they're not getting anything done when it comes to the health and safety of the players.
Let me talk to you.
Exactly, because when it comes to the health and safety of the players, no matter what work environment you're in, you could be flipping burgers, you could be playing professional sports, health and safety is important out here in these streets, and especially out here on these fields when you look at how things roll out here in these streets.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when it comes to professional sports, especially contact sports, you need to look out for your players. You need to look out for your health. And when you have artificial turf out here that's causing issues, especially to a Hall of Famer who's a 4-time regular season MVP who goes down like that after the type of offseason build and the hype from all of the people in the media, all the fans getting ready for this New York Jets transition of going upward just to go down.
Yeah.
In the words of Charles Barkley.
That's terrible.
And absolutely.
Acknowledge you. Gotcha. Yes. I think the NFL Players Association, maybe they need to borrow what Aaron Rodgers is drinking. I don't know. I guess.
Captain A for the ayahuasca, ready to rock and roll. He could definitely spend a little bit more time doing that nowadays.
Oh. You're right about that.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Arizona Cardinals quarterback Joshua Dobbs, who has started the last 2 games, knows how NFL games are judged. It's not how they start an offense, he means. Even if they score 20 points in the first half, it is how they finish. The Cardinals jumped out to that 20-0 lead at halftime and were up 28-7 within the first 6 minutes of the third quarter. And despite noticeable improvement over the season opener, the offense didn't finish like they started. And they contributed to the team's collapse in their 31-28 defeat. Now, Dobbs went onward to say the following in terms of what they had to accomplish and what they didn't. Quote, "We got to give ourselves a chance to finish by executing, playing the same way we played throughout the game. So we know the games get tight. That's how the NFL is." Close quote. Now, the Cardinals claim that they didn't complete the mission. Do the Cardinals even know their mission?
That's a good question, because I want to know if they came down from the planet that I was talking about on D. Willie in the Evening, episode 1. I'm not going to repeat that is. You're going to have to check that out on Thursday nights at 11:15 p.m. Eastern Time on Sartoba Media. But I feel like that some of them teleported down from that planet because they don't know what mission they are tackling here and there and everywhere. They seem like they're tackling themselves. They need to get it together.
The way they played the last 24 minutes of that game, yeah, I would agree. Gosh, I didn't complete the mission. I don't even know if you all have the. Never mind. I'm not going to go on a tangent. And before I complete this segment, thank you, VLock83. He says, "Look, trust me, Sensei. I can watch nothing but Cole Johnson commercials as well." Thank you, sir. I appreciate the love. He also goes on to say, "I love the Four Horsemen Pick'ems with Mike McCarthy and Pennywise." I have affinity for that. And thank you for giving me the Pennywise suggestion for me to actually slide that in there for Four Horsemen Pick'ems. But Cardinals, it looks like you all need to stop doing what Kyler Murray's doing, because you all are playing Call of Duty far too much too. Fools. Total Football Talk. And now it's the time of the show. We award the one who is so cold and so soft that we have to give them snowflake designation. Here are the snowflakes of the week. Drew, take it away.
I alluded to this in the last segment with parts of what I said for one of my takes, because, well, actually in 2 of my segments, because I said earlier that it was coming from a particular game who my snowflake of the week is. And I have said his name probably 74 times already. That is Zachary Capono Wilson. You are my snowflake of the week. You were supposed to get all of this great tutelage from the great Aaron Rodgers during the offseason. He is your best friend out here in the street. You guys are such great buddies. You are in sync. You guys are in such great in syncness. Yet the first time he is not in the same stadium with you and you are unable to embrace his aura, you get treated like a dumpster pelican. With that being said, and I look at what he's done. Yes, a dumpster pelican, Cole. Absolutely played Zachary Dumpster Pelican Wilson. Not Capono, but Dumpster Pelican Wilson. Zachary DP Wilson. No, that sounds terrible. But Zachary Dumpster Pelican Wilson is what he is known as out here in these streets. Not Capono, but Dumpster Pelican. Because you look at his stats overall for this game, 12 of 27. Dumpster Pelican status, absolutely. 12 of 27, Zach Wilson does. 170 mother-fathering yards with 1 touchdown and 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions. You qualified on just being the snowflake of the week alone with 3 interceptions. Then to look at how your overall game was. You know what? Congratulations, though, for being the leading rush on your team with 5 attempts and 36 yards, which is absolutely terrible when you, Zachary Capono-Wilson, are the one that's the leading rusher on your team when you have Dalvin Cook and you have Breece Hall. It just goes to show how much of an attention seeker you are when you, Zachary Capono-Wilson, has to be the leading rusher on your team. That just goes to show how much they are invested in you, Zachary Capono-Wilson. You are my snowflake of the week.
Oh my gosh. I will probably be hearing Zachary Capono-Wilson as a loop in my head for the next week. Oh my gosh, that was brilliant, man. That was brilliant. Well, since my partner picked a quarterback, I shall do the same. And who is going to be my snowflake of the week? Well, Browns starting QB Deshaun Watson, come on down. You are that contested. Yes, sir. Now, you're probably wondering, wait a minute. I had a decent game, 22 of 40, 235 yards, a touchdown. Yeah, I did throw a pick. And yeah, I did get sacked 6 times, but that's the O-line's fault. Well, partially it's the O-line's fault. Partially it's yours. But you're not really getting it for that designation. You're getting it for this one. You're getting it for the fact that you, sir, cannot handle the fact that people are going to come after your neck and they're going to talk sideways to you, and they're going to test the fact that they think that you should still be on the sideline, if not in the game, if not in the league, because they don't think you still have it. And quite frankly, for the handful of games, you don't. But I sure we know what you're thinking. You're thinking something along these lines. Hey, girl. Come here for a second. Oh, you mighty fine filly. Yeah, I'm going to sit down right there. Then hand me that towel. Oh, yeah. You sexy girl, hand me that towel. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, cover me. Yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah, sit down. Sit down and smile. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. Splash. Touchdown. That's what your dumb behind is thinking. I mean, you aren't concentrating anything about the game. It's about the fact that you want to rush home, get many hoes, and get massages where they don't even touch you. You actually do the massaging on your own and they watch. You pay for voyeurs, and it's a shame. And I get why players are just making fun of you. I would too, because you are just a joke. And you're making a whole lot of money. You stealing money from the Haslam family. And you know what? You're supposed to steal from them. They were stupid enough to pay you. And now you get to be wealthy, doing stupid stuff along the way. And yeah, how you were at Houston, you're not that now. And it's unfortunate because I used to like you. I don't hate you, but you're underwhelming, sir. And because of it, you, just like a snowflake, when the sun hits you, you're melting away and you're becoming a puddle of nothing. Oh, well, sorry for you. The 2-minute drill is next. This is Total Football Talk. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your commanders to be repped right? Well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Monday at 3:05 p.m. Eastern, 2:05 p.m. Central. Exclusively on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers? Right side. Commanders. Where my soldiers? Left side.
Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze god.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, they palm it and do 2 circles, and that translates to, I can be the black people.
As she takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific time zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel. And welcome to the home stretch of Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham and Cole Johnson. Yes, sir.
That was great with the snort at the end of the baseline commercial. I love it. Oh, you're going to be asleep. Just catch it syndicated. Yeah, I love it. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the love. And look, it was a thrill for me to do the commercial Gridiron, the Commander's Gridiron Report. You do a great job with that show already. Three episodes in, and you just smashed out the park. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you grow as the season goes along, because that's a hot show. It really is.
Especially with a commercial like that. I'm telling you, like J. Cool loves it, like being a part of something like that. You know, definitely each and every week we are evolving. Look forward to seeing how things go as the season goes on.
Yeah, I am too. And of course, shout out to our brother Cool McCain. One of many projects he's a part of, and and he's one of the beasts in the content creation game. And Eagles Elite Podcast is one of those shows that even if you're not an Eagles fan, you will love. Similar to me with Drew, I'm not a Commanders fan, but I love what he does because he tells it like it is for his team, and it makes you respect the team more because of an analyst like him.
Is he doing something like 6 shows in a week or something like that?
Jeez, man.
Is it like 6 or 8? I can't remember. It's one of those 2 numbers. The last time we talked to him, he was talking about it. I think it's like 6 and 7 days. I don't know how you do that. That's a lot.
I don't know how he does it either. I'm like, man.
And to the magnitude of how he does it too. He's been on the In or Out Sports Debate before, and I'm telling you, he always comes in with the fire. Cool McCain knows his stuff and is ready to rock. Definitely one of the great ones to work with out here in these streets.
Yes, he does. And the ears must have been burning because he's in the chat now. Good afternoon to you, sir. We were giving you your flowers, bro, because you were one of the hardest work content creators we know, bro.
The only time I will allow an Eagles commercial to be right before a Commanders commercial will be Cool McCain's commercial. You did that beautifully during that commercial break there, Cole. I will allow that one because it's Cool McCain. Anybody else? No.
He says, I came at the right time. Yeah, you did, bro. Victor says, look, the only mission the Cardinals know is what's the next mission in the campaign of Call of Duty. You right about that, man. You right about that. Woo, I've enjoyed this show thus far. Oh my gosh. The end is going to be just as good. Oh my. Time for the 2-minute drill. We do the best of the rest in week 3 of the 2023
NFL season. And we get this slate started with the Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff. The Titans at 1-1, going to Cleveland to play the Browns, also at 1-1. Who do you have, sir? The Browns are favored by 9.5 in this game.
Titans got lucky in week 2. They will not be the same.
True.
Browns will overcome their deficit in this past weekend. Browns take this game over the Titans.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see the Titans doing anything but just basically bore people to sleep, try to make the game dull and boring. The Browns will have it. I believe it too. The Lions, they will host the Falcons, the surprising 2-0 Falcons, bringing the running game, the stout running game that they have, into Motown. Another 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. The Lions are favored by a field goal. Who do you have in this one?
Lions are going to be pretty, upset about with what happened this past week and losing the game the way that they did. They're going to come in here and they're going to get this victory at home against the Falcons, who are definitely riding high off of a 2-0 start, but they're not going to keep it going forward. They're going to lose their first game against Detroit this upcoming week.
And yes, this is the first road game for the Falcons, and I think that's going to play a part in it too, along with the Lions having a bad taste in their mouth. I agree. I think the Lions will take it too. Sunday, 1 p.m. kickoff again. The Packers at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. But it won't be frozen, and it won't be a tundra. They're at 1-1. They are hosting the surprising Saints at 2-0. The Packers are favored by a safety. Your pick, sir.
The Saints definitely surprising to be at 2-0 based on some of the things we've talked about in these past 2 episodes. I feel like their streak ends against a team that is got the Packers playing pretty well with Jordan Love not throwing an interception yet. Feel like he keeps that streak going forward, and they're going to get to 2-1. Both teams will be 2-1 at the end of this game.
Yes, and this will also mark the home debut of the 2023 Packers. So I think they will have that type of momentum on their side. The Saints have just been the defense has been good. The offense has been underwhelming. I think they're going to pay for that underwhelming offensive performance they have been putting forth thus far. This should be the Packers to win. 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. The Broncos go eastbound and they play in South Beach against the Dolphins. The Dolphins are 6.5-point faves. They are also 2-0. Of course, the Broncos are 0-2. Who do you have?
The Broncos have been playing like dumpster Pelicans. They will continue to play like dumpster Pelicans, and they are going to end this game at 0-3. They are going to lose like the dumpster Pelicans they are this week to the team known as the Dolphins. Dolphins will be 3-0. Broncos will be 0-3 at the end of this motherfathering game.
Agreed. I think the Broncos will probably not know what hit them, and they'll be playing catch-up almost all of the game. 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday in the Twin Cities. The Vikings host the Chargers. It should be in San Diego, not L.A. It's a pick'em. So who's going to win their first game of the season?
The first toilet bowl of the season this year, Cole, as we got 2 teams without a win battling each other. The toilet bowl it is, and you would not think that the Vikings would be the ones considered into the toilet bowl. Brandon Staley might be looking for a new job at the end of the season. He will be starting this year at 0-3. The Vikings will not and should not lose this game. They'll be 1-2 at the end of this game. The Chargers will be 0-3. Staley will be getting his resume ready to go by the end of this season.
I believe so. He needs to go. He is hurting that team far too much. And I think he's going to hurt them further in this game. I think they'll go to 0-3 as well. The Jets, they return home, licking their wounds from Arlington, Texas. They face off against the 0-2 Patriots, a team they have not beaten since 2015. Sunday, 1 p.m. kickoff is the time. Patriots are 2.5-point favorites. Who do you have, sir?
Zachary Capono Wilson, it's time we talk about you again as you play against my boy Mac and Cheese Jones from the New England Patriots. You guys are going against a Mac and Cheese Jones led team that has not won a game yet. They're 0-2, taking on the Zachary Capono Wilson led New York Jets, who are 1-1, coming off of that embarrassment deficit this past weekend. I feel like they're going to get embarrassed again. Mac and Cheese is going to show up in New York and take down Zachary Capono Wilson. The Patriots win this game this weekend.
Oh, my gosh. Mac and Cheese. Lord have mercy. Cool McCain says he's about to record his Friday morning show. That will be on WDJY-FM, which comes on at 10 a.m. on Friday. Good luck to you on that, sir. Hope the recording goes well. Hall TV says, Comey Media. What's up, brother? He says, what's up, y'all? And we talked about your Commanders earlier in this episode. And we're proud of your Commanders, bro. You should be happy. You should be happy with what you're seeing with them. He says, look, where's Sacks Mr. Miyagi? Good question. looks like he's recovering from being injured. I agree. I think the Patriots will get their first win of the year. I want the Jets to win. I want Ryan McCarthy to smile. He's a Jets fan that we know. I want him to smile. I just don't think we'll see it because I think Mr. Wilson will find a way to lose this game too. The hapless Texans 0-2. They go to Duval to play the Jaguars. They are 1-1. The Jags are 9.5-point favorites. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Who do you have, sir?
CJ Stroud keeps throwing the ball the way he is and keeps playing. At some point, it's going to pay dividends for him, but I feel like you don't have enough pieces around you this year to do anything with it. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars and you lose this game to the Houston Texans, you might as well pack it up for the rest of the season anyway. So the Jaguars will and need to win this game against the Houston Texans. Unfortunately, even though CJ Stroud is starting this year off pretty well for a rookie, they're going to start it out 0-3 and lose to the Jags this weekend.
Yeah, and he was close to being this week's grand champ, but I just couldn't do it. However, I'm happy for him. Wonderful start to his season. Wonderful start to his career. He is taking care of the ball, and I'm happy to see that. Win or lose, I'm happy to see that, because if they could just surround him with pieces and he can still take care of the ball like that, it'll only look upward. Unfortunately, they will be looking upward as they are being knocked to the turf. The Jaguars should have this in the bag. Sunday, 1 p.m. kickoff again. The Ravens at NT Bank Stadium at 2-0. They host the 1-1 Indianapolis Colts. Of course, Baltimore does not like the Colts. I wonder why. The reason escapes me. The Ravens are favored by 8. Who do you have, sir?
If Uncle Rico is a starter for the Colts, I like their chances. I like their chances with Uncle Rico. It just depends on what we see throughout the rest of this week. However, based on the momentum coming from Baltimore and how they've been showing up these past 2 weeks, I would be a fool to bet against them at this point. I have the Ravens starting this year out 3-0 and the Colts diving down to 1-2.
All right. I agree. I think the Ravens should win it. They're going to probably win it bull and shoe ugly style, but they're going to win it nonetheless. And then they will bring their record up to 3-0. The Colts will be 1-2. The first of the few late games, 4:05 kickoff in Lumen Field in Seattle. The Seahawks return home at 1-1. They played the hapless Panthers. Bryce Young, I so feel for you. The Seahawks are favored by 2 field goals. Who do you have, sir?
Geno Smith definitely showed up for some late game heroics this past week, and I don't even think that's going to be necessary because you're playing a team led by Frank Reich at coach, who is the head coach of the Colts, didn't do much, is doing the same thing so far with the Panthers. And you got what's around Bryce Young. I feel like the Panthers start this year out 0-3. We're going to have a bunch of 0-3 teams. After this weekend, Panthers going to be part of that as the Seahawks will improve to 2-1 in this victory at home.
I agree. I think the Seahawks has this too. One of the 2 4:25 p.m. kickoffs. The Chiefs host they host the Bears. The Chiefs are up at 13. The Chiefs are favored by 13.
The Bears are going to be in addition to this 0-3 list of teams. It's like I feel like I'm being overzealous by saying this at this point. By all the amount of 0-3 teams, it is wild that we are even saying this many teams. But yes, the Bears join that list with the Panthers and the others aforementioned. They are going to be 0-3 as well.
Oh, then you will like the Chiefs easily. You'll like this one. The other 425 kickoff, the Cowboys are 2-0. They go to the desert to play the 0-2 Cardinals. The Cowboys are favored by 12.
How would you say that I may pick this as my upset of the week? The Cardinals are going to beat the Cowboys at home.
What?
The Cardinals are going to beat the Cowboys at home.
What?
The defense is going to crumble this week at Arizona.
Let me talk to you.
Absolutely, because the hype is too big on the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, they've made some good plays for 1 week and then 2 weeks and throughout a preseason. Good job, but we still have a long season to go. And look at these dumpster Pelican Arizona Cardinals have kept it close with the Commanders, and they've kept it close with the Giants for 2 weeks in a row. Yes, you are a dumpster Pelican team. Yes, you just picked up Josh Dobbs 2 weeks before the season started, but it is your time, and your time is now as the game controllers are out of your hands. You are going to take down Dallas Cowboys this week by a margin of 2 points.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. I don't think this is going to be a slaughter, but I just don't think the Cardinals offense has anything for the Cowboys defense. If they did, I would be with you on this upset, but starting helmets, they're going to go to 3-0. And I it pains me to say this, but the Cardinals are just that bad. God, they're hideous. All right. The Sunday night game. The Steelers are 1-1. The Raiders are 1-1. They're in Vegas. It's a pick'em. 8:20 kickoff. Who do you have, sir?
Before I give my pick, in my defense, Cole and I have been doing a lot of agreeing on this episode. So I had to throw a curveball at him just to show him that we have to disagree on something at some point. And even though I'm more than likely wrong, 100% wrong, I'm going to be dead wrong, and you're going to be laughing at me next week on episode 4. I had to take that chance by giving that pick for this week. Now, when we look at the Pittsburgh Steelers game against the Raiders, both teams have not been really impressing me at all this year, especially when you look at the way the Raiders just lost to the Bills. And you look at what the Steelers did last night against the Browns, talking about and we were wondering if Deshaun Watson got the rub down at halftime or not, okay? So we now look at this game right here, Steelers and Raiders. I would have to say right here that if I were going to pick a winning team right here, it'd have to be the Steelers. Because I just don't like what I'm seeing from the Raiders.
Well, I don't like what I'm seeing from the Steelers. I don't like what I'm seeing from the Raiders. And considering this is the first road game for the Steelers, yeah, I'm gonna have to roll with the Raiders, and I really am not liking this game at all. Oh my god,
you're rolling with the Raiders.
I'm rolling with the Raiders.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's going to be a bad game, and I just believe the Raiders' offense is just a little bit better. Unfortunately, a little bit better than the Steelers' offense. But yes, I get the fact that the Steelers' defense is a little better than the Raiders' D. But I just think that as a team, I just don't see the Steelers pulling one out. And look, I could be wrong. I just don't see it. And we get down to the other Monday Night Football game, 9:15 p.m. kickoff. The Bengals are favored by 2. They host the Rams. They are 1-1. The Bengals are 0-2. Who do you have, sir?
It seems like the matchups we're getting for the primetime games this weekend are matchups of teams that are very subpar this year. Teams that are definitely either on or flirting with dumpster Pelican status. Because you look at the Bengals. Of course, dumpster Pelicans, again, you have to look at the Bengals. You have to look at the way they've played, especially since some contracts have been given out or contract extensions. And look at Joe Burrow, maybe 300 total yards in 2 games, averaging like 150 yards per game right now, going against the team that he is going against, the Rams, who have won a Super Bowl within the past few years, but definitely nowhere close to the team that they were the year before the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl and lost. I really think In this game, the Bengals have no choice, but they have to win this game. If they lose this game, their season is over. And both teams at the end of this game are going to be 1-2. The Rams lose this game, Bengals win. It's going to be pretty close, under 7 points for a deficit.
Yeah, well, I'm with you on that. I want to say the Rams can beat them. I don't. I think the Rams are unimpressive. The Bengals have been unimpressive this year, but I think they're going to have one of those breakout performances, and I think Monday night will be that breakout performance time, I believe. So I'm with you. I think the Bengals will take it. Before we end the segment, Hall TV says, look, talking about Zach Wilson, that man needs Danielson to help him out stat. Yeah, I agree. And V-Like-A3, he says, look, that's one worry about Sensei. You might be right. And of course, he's alluding to the Cowboys being upset by the Cardinals, a game that basically the Cowboys should easily win, but they may just throw helmets on the field and lose. I'm not rooting for that. That just might happen. But
I just looking at the teams. Yeah, just looking at the teams that will go 0-3 this year. I mean, 0-3 this week. Cardinals, yeah, have a pretty good chance of going 0-3 against the Cowboys, but I feel like they have the upset there. But I just don't see, out of all those teams that could or potentially go 0-3, I don't see the Bengals going 0-3 at all.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't. But I just it will be interesting. I will say that it will be interesting if the Cowboys lose to the Cardinals. I would actually love it because it will be interesting to hear how people are like, well, we thought they were going to the Super Bowl, but man, they can't lose to bottom feeding teams like, I'm sorry, they can't lose to dumpster Pelican teams like the like the Cardinals. It would be great to hear that. Oh my gosh. And that concludes this week's 2 minutes.
Total football talk.
As long as it's one. That's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording.
And now we've come to the post game where we get a chance to actually express all of what we've seen and all of what we want to see. And our final thoughts will be led by Drew.
All right. When it comes to this section of the post game, and when we have discussed this entire show,
Let me talk to you.
I have said the word Capono so many times I lost count. Talking about Zachary Capono Wilson and the dumpster fire that this dumpster Pelican team is trajected on for the rest of this season. You have 15 more games, Mr. Capono, and you are definitely playing like a Capono. Not doing anything out here on this field. You are doing terrible. The way I feel after week 2, I feel some solace in the fact that my Commanders are doing very, very well. At least on the scoreboard, and at least with the overall outcome. There are some questionable decision-making going on within the game still. I have to at least point that out. There's still some questionable decisions being made. But if you keep tightening things up as the week goes on, we could be seeing something special being built over there in Washington. I think the season's over there in Las Vegas, and I think it's heading that way in Cincinnati. But some of that momentum that was on Cincinnati's side could be shifting a little bit still on the East Coast to the Washington Commanders, and we could see something special. The team they've been giving all the hype to, America's team, Dallas Cowboys, they're going to be the ones in the Super Bowl this year. No, you're not going to be in the Super Bowl, and neither are the Commanders. But the Commanders could potentially have a better season than the Cowboys at the way that they're playing. They both have the same record, and they beat the Cardinals. If the Cowboys get upset by the Cardinals this weekend, then I will officially be able to say that the Commanders will have a better season than America's team, Gerald's team over there. Dallas Cowboys going to go up there and get Super Bowl for the first time 30 years. They going to take on their competition, and these going to win up there in the streets over there. Dallas Cowboys just going to sit on over here, not know what I'm talking about, no make no sense. We Dallas Cowboys. No. I don't support that. I support the Washington Commanders This is my post-game discussion.
Oh my gosh. Lord have mercy. All because your hatred of the Cowboys have to shine through, which I understand. You are predisposed to dislike the Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys. I understand, but goodness gracious. Oh, wonderful parroting of Cowboys fan. I love that too, because I've heard many of them speak those words that way often. Goodness gracious. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Well, unlike my partner, I wish I could say something jovial or interesting or positive. Well, I could say something positive, but my heart actually goes to one Nick Chubb. I really believe that you wanted to do your best to prove that you were going to be the back that we had to pay attention to, the back to look out for, the back to look forward to. You wanted to carry the weight of running backs, if not just the Browns, all together. And you got through one game stellarly, and you were getting through this game very well. And then unfortunately you have the accident that took you out from your knee for at least this season. My heart goes out to you. I really wish that you could not have had that injury. I hated you had to ride on the cart out of Acrisure Stadium, and I really felt for. I mean, I felt for the Browns, yes, but I felt for you more because I really believe the hopes of the Browns were on your two legs and your mind to hit the right holes, to make the right decisions, and to steady the defense and the offense all at the same time with your presence. When you go through rehab, know that there are people out here who are not even Browns fans who are wanting, who are wishing, and who are praying that you have a wonderful, wonderful recovery and that you come back and that you are slicing up defensive interiors and giving linebackers and secondary and defensive coordinators alike headaches because you exist. It's unfortunate that you have to end your year prematurely, but you're a warrior. And I appreciate you. I think we appreciate you, sir. And that's the post game for me.
As long as it's one. Oh, it's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
Definitely a great speech on Nick Chubb right there. Like I said, I tried to bring the jovial, bring some entertainment to mine, but you definitely closed it on out right there in a great way from Nick Chubb, because I always have liked watching Nick Chubb play. Very unfortunate to see him go out the way that he did. And that type of injury is somewhat like Joe Theismann-esque when I watch it. As far as the cringeworthiness of it, when you see it in slow-mo, it's not going to be like career ending potentially like, Joe Theismann. I mean, it might be too premature to say that yet because he still has to go through the rehab process and still has to want to come back. But when you look at that as a whole, it puts that on the same platform, the same scale as that Joe Theismann injury. Definitely beware before you watch that clip if you haven't seen that yet. It's a nasty looking clip.
Yeah, it is. It is. And well, Chubb has this on his side. He has age on his side a little bit because, of course, when it happened to Theismann, he was in his 30s and Chubb's in his 20s. But yeah, I mean, it is premature to say, well, he might not, but hopefully he will recover and come back and be as good as ever.
And also Chubb's position is running back. So, I mean, he has to put a lot more pressure on his legs. So there's a lot more questions at that. But yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. He's got a lot more on his side as far as youth goes, but we'll definitely see how that recovery plan works out for him. I hope to see him back in great shape and still do the things he did before the injury. But fingers definitely crossed for Nick Chubb. And I think I had him on one of my fantasy teams this year too. So it definitely is a blow to that too as well.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your take on the Cowboys and Cowboys fan. That was wonderful. Anytime you could poke fun at Cowboys fan, I'm happy. I'm a happy man. I've seen far too many of them in my lifetime. Any final words before we do let the Total Football Talk audience go?
This Thursday, 11:15 p.m. Eastern time on Sertoba Media, as it'll be the second episode of D. Willie in the evening. Now we have shows on Sertoba Media Monday through Friday, starting to pick up here for Sertoba Media's branding and stuff like that as far as the shows. We got Student of the Game with Kyle Nash on Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock. You got D. Willie in the evening on Thursdays. And then on Fridays, you got the Duval Dive podcast in the late morning around 11 o'clock in the 11 o'clock in the morning. It's all Jaguars podcast. Mondays, you got the Commanders Gridiron Report. Now you got this show on Tuesdays. I'll be bringing about the In or Out Sports Debate back very soon. So for myself, Sertoba Media, things are definitely brewing out here, but I couldn't do it without the fans who are currently watching, even right now on Sertoba Media's YouTube channel, on Facebook, on Twitter, on all those live platform accounts. So thank you all right now who are tuning in, not just for Sertoba, but for Cole as well with Comey Media and the combined production. If it wasn't for you guys, we'd have nobody to showcase this stuff to. So thank you all for tuning in.
Yes, about to say, and I echo the same for Comey Media. And there's a lot of content that's starting to come in that channel too. That's exclusively for that channel, just like for Drew and Sertoba Media. And speaking of which, if you want to find Drew, all you have to do is head to the social media homes for him on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on TikTok, and of course, you have YouTube's Sertoba Media at Sertoba Media. If you want to reach me, of course, YouTube is at Comey Media Incorporated, and any and all, you can reach me at flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. Yes, sir.
I got to get on that flow code. I gotta get on that flow code, but I've been slacking. I'll try to get on that flow code. If not, just go down to the links below, click on them individually. But thank you all. I'm going to try to join the Flow Code Club at some point this year.
Well, I'm sure you will, and I think you will like it when you do, or if you do. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for liking, thank you for sharing, and thank you for subscribing, and thank you for hitting that notification bell so you can catch all content that emanates from the powerful Sertoba Media YouTube channel or the powerful Comey Media YouTube channel. For Drew Willingham, I'm Cole Johnson, here to say in parting, as we now always do. In life, just like a tackle, always keep your head up, and remember, play until the whistle blows. So long, everybody.